All right, greetings and welcome to Bettor's Last Stand, show number 29. Coach and Chris, along with me, Matt. We got the regular guys back together here. It's been a while since you two have been on here together. Each of you. Coach was back a couple weeks ago. Chris, you've been on.
I think the last time I was with Coach was...
We were down the hall, probably.
I didn't... Yeah, maybe so. If not, with Coach, we were probably at his house out in the
Outside.
summertime.
Outside.
Well, we're in our beautiful Pine Room studio right here. Things are looking awesome as usual. These guys added a beautiful coffee table in here that's gigantic. We got a desk over here for our potential interns and whatever you want to call, work studies, whatever we're going to have here in the future. So if you know anybody interested wanting to work with the Pine Room guys, we talked about it on the podcast last night as well. So send your resumes, contact at thepineroompodcast.com. We'll be happy to interview everyone. We said we're going to have a very rigorous interviewing process. We're going to take the interviewee down to River City and see how many shots they could drink before they passed out. That was going to be one of the starting points. So.
The more shots they can do, the better they answer. Better chance.
They'll have to go shot by shot with Say. So I don't know how that'll turn out for anybody. But yes, welcome into Bettor's Last Stand. We got lots to talk about today. This is our first post NFL show. We talked racing the last time you saw us with racing analyst Sam Pavlik, who's actually going to get me his racing picks, which we'll have up on the Twitter and the Instagram page for the weekend. Going to have Sam calling in each week, but we don't have the technology quite yet. We're waiting on a computer from Frizzy over in Bel Air. Should have it by the end of the week, so hopefully next week we have Sam Skyping in, and you could see him talking with us about the NASCAR, F1, and IndyCar races each week. That's the plan. But today we're going to talk college basketball, a little NHL, NBA, golf, XFL, World Baseball Classic, and NASCAR. So plenty to talk about, lots of things to try to win you some money. Last week we had some tough luck. We had some good picks in racing, guys that were up near the front the whole day. Almirola, Cindric, Priest, all of them in the mix till very late. And as we talked about on our show yesterday on WKKX, The Watchdog, for those of you not sure about that, we are on every Monday from 2 to 3 p.m., and we're going to be doing shows on Tuesday from noon till 3 and Thursday from noon to 3. So look out for us here on that in a couple of weeks. But Coach was mentioning how seems like the best drivers don't win at Daytona each year, and that happened probably again as Ricky Stenhouse won at 40-1. And then in golf, Max Homa was looking pretty good entering the back nine, and then he kind of fell apart. Rahm gave him some opportunities to win that tournament, but he wasn't able to get there. So hopefully he had those guys, or Max Homa at least, for some top fives and stuff, so still decent payouts. But it's not going to be like that every week. You some weeks you get lucky, other weeks you don't. So Coach and Chris, opening thoughts. Welcome back, and thoughts about Daytona or the golf from last week.
Yeah, we're in a sort of a... I wouldn't call it a dead spot in the sports world because, as you just mentioned, there's a heck of a lot still going on. But it just seems like, I don't know, without football, it's like you're not looking for things, but it's a lot different. Football always takes front and center. As soon as we come on, we're talking NFL, college football. Now all that's over. Thankfully for you two.
Yes.
It's ran its course.
I didn't see you
about 23 weeks.
Chris, I didn't ever see you look so happy sitting there watching the Daytona 500 at the Vets. You said this is refreshing.
Mark, for all the times we've had gatherings, whether it be at a bar or someone's house for a date, I have never watched the entire race. I kid you not, I think I watched every single lap of that race.
Yeah.
And I loved every freaking lap of it. I totally enjoyed it. It was great. And
I think you drank a beer for every 10 laps. I think you might have.
I don't know. You know what? I think I was just so happy that it wasn't a football game. And like Matt and I were talking during the race.
Penalty flags.
There was no reviews. There was, there wasn't a penalty flag.
Just a couple cautions.
Just
till the end.
It was really good. I didn't win any money, but I don't care. And I'm glad Stenhouse won. Or just like you said, the top driver. He's not considered to be one of them, but good for him. Good for him. And I loved it. And I'm looking forward to the upcoming season, and hopefully we'll win a few bucks.
Daytona's more who stays out of the mess, That's basically what it comes down to. You got to have a good car. You want to try to be in the front because that kind of avoids the potential of being in a wreck. But yeah, kind of just survival of the fittest.
Did Mark tell you about that stat?
I was going to.
You want to bring that up, or
when we go into the race,
okay, when we get down to
I thought that was and if you didn't see or if you didn't hear our show on Monday, this past Monday, we had an incredible guest on the show, Travis Braden, who is the one of the setup guys for Alex Bowman. And Chris has an incredible stat on Alex Bowman. I bet Travis doesn't even know that stat. That was that's a really cool stat. But
it was.
But he had some really interesting insight on the Daytona 500. All the cautions at the end and how guys drive differently when it's the checkered flag, how they drive a little more aggressively than the whole rest of the race, and he had some really interesting, as I said, insight on that. And then he talked about NASCAR in general and his experience. It was really awesome. Matt did a great job of
he was great
asking questions, and he told us some of the tough luck he's had in his life. Now battling his wife. Battling through some issues with breast cancer, but she seems to be doing well. Did you feel that, Matt?
No, she is, and I ended up seeing when he liked one of our things on Instagram, and then I saw on a couple of the messages they had on there. It seems like she's either in remission or something.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so things are going well for him there. Hopefully, we see him back driving here soon.
Yeah, too. And he is from Wheeling Park graduate.
Went to WVU.
I believe his family owns Braden's Towing Service. He lives now in what part of North Carolina?
Just right outside of Charlotte, Concord. That's where all the NASCAR teams are based. So yeah.
Okay. So wonderful interview with him. Matter of fact, we had some. I got some texts and some call-ins saying what a great interview that was.
Yeah,
just
it was cool.
Some
it was fun.
Insight from a guy that is really into NASCAR.
Yes.
So hopefully down the road, that's a great connection for the Pine Room podcast.
Yeah.
And maybe one day you'll see one of our guys in the car riding.
Champ can change tires for you.
So anyway, it's great to be back. I'll be out next week again because of the Mountain East Conference.
Yeah, we're all. This is a busy stretch coming up here. You guys got your high school stuff. We got Mountain East next week. So I don't know what will happen for the show, but don't worry. You can always see our stuff on.
We'll have someone here.
Instagram and Twitter. If we don't, like last week, Sam and I did a show. We taped the previous week, but due to my work conflicts, we weren't able to do a regular show last week. But it was good. We had the racing preview to fill in. So
you guys always talk about our depth.
Yeah, we got plenty of options.
Yes.
So, but next week is Mountain East tournament down at West Bank Arena. We'll talk about that a little bit later. You can bet on all that stuff over at the Wheeling Island Sportsbook. So come on out. It's a great tournament. Watch it. Make a few wagers. We're gonna shift over to college basketball though and start with the D1 guys here. Just want to get your guys' thoughts here. We're getting down to where next week you got some of the D1 conferences starting their conference tournaments. The A-Sun, Horizon League, Big South, Missouri Valley, Colonial, America East, and the Big Sky all get going at some point next week. And then the big boys the following week. Just overall thoughts where we are in college basketball, Coach. I know your Boilermakers have hit a little skid lately. Where you at? Who's your top team right now?
I would say, as you and I discussed, I would say that my recommendation heading into the tournaments is play the dogs.
Right.
I just think that this field is so equally balanced, and it gets more equal every year. I think that you'll see some big point spreads, like in these 116, 215s.
Yeah.
That I would say play the dogs, and I would say start studying, because I would say some money line dog plays would be very good.
Yes.
In these tournaments, I'm gonna step out and say that we're gonna see some major upsets in these tournaments. Now, some of the big dogs will win, and honestly, now I'm starting to change my tune a little bit on who I like.
I know. It's like who's playing well at the right time.
I was heavy on Purdue. I like Tennessee for a while. I'm fading them hard right now. I don't like Baylor. I think they're not playing well. They got beat again last night by Kansas State. I like Kansas.
Yeah,
I think Kansas
is starting to round into form.
And they're well coached. I think one of the best coaches in the country. I like them a lot. I think they're going to be tough to beat. I still like Houston just because they play incredible defense, but I offensively, they just don't score. They don't score much, but they play great defense. some of the other teams that I do like, I don't know. UCLA, I think UCLA's
I like them a lot.
A strong play heading into the tournament. I think they're playing very well. And I tell you another one I like St. Mary's.
Yeah.
I think St.
You
Mary's
mentioned them a few weeks ago.
St. Mary's is a strong play. I think they showed that against Gonzaga. I think they're far better than Gonzaga this year, and I like them. I like them to go deep in the tournament.
Yeah, they got them as around a 5 seed right now is what they're kind of projected at St. Mary's.
Yes.
Chris, thoughts? Who are some of your top teams? The teams
I haven't really seen enough of it. I just go by what I see on the TV, but I just, like you mentioned just a little bit ago about Kansas and the Jayhawks are playing really well right now. And what's the deal with Purdue? They've been slumping, huh?
I don't know. They got young guards. I don't know if they're kind of hitting the wall or what, but they're kind of figuring out how to stop old Zach Edey down low. So
I think teams are figuring out that, as you just said, Matt, their guard play is young,
right.
And I think these teams like Maryland, the other teams that have beaten them
Indiana,
recently, have put a lot of pressure on their guards,
right.
And you're almost at the point where you're letting Eddie get his 25 points and pressure their guards heavy,
right.
And try to force turnover and try to make them take bad shots. So I think that's the issue with Purdue right now.
Now they got to figure out a way to adjust.
Yeah,
Purdue does.
And I don't know whether that'll happen or not because
I'm not confident.
No, I'm not now either, and I was earlier in the year.
Because they're right. They're letting them dump it down to Eddie, and instead of guys sagging off of the shooters and trying to help on him, they're just not doing it, and they're tight on those guards on the perimeter. And they're very talented kids, but this is their first year in Division I basketball, the 2 best ones. So a big learning curve there, and they're playing a lot of games for the first time in their life. Usually their high school season's about not even close to this long, but we'll watch intently. Chris, any other thoughts on some of your top teams? Because I want to ask you guys some of these teams that you think may be in or out here. So
well, I don't know too much about these teams as far as the personnel, but another team that I'm just going to maybe just jump on their bandwagon is UCLA.
Yeah, UCLA is good. Yeah, I think UCLA is being disrespected. I think they're good on defense. They have some players left over from that team that made the Final Four 2 years ago, so I think they'll be a really good tournament team. But their Achilles heel is always the same problem that all Mick Cronin teams have is they struggle to score a lot of points. And if they don't shoot the ball well or they have nights where their guys are off, it's hard. I mean, they could be winning a game in the 40s or lose a game 52-49, so that's the risk you run. Houston's very similar to that. That the points are just so hard to come by. And then I will say, not to be a homer or anything, but my Miami Hurricanes are playing really good basketball right now. I thought yesterday's line was a total mistake. Miami should never have been an underdog in that game against Virginia
That's
Tech.
funny you said that. I as we discussed earlier, I picked Champ up, and when we were riding over to the book, I told him, I said, Matt's team is playing probably right now as well as anybody in the country. They won as a dog. I agreed. That line was way off.
2 weeks in a row, they were catching points at Virginia Tech and at North Carolina.
That was
teams. They're better than both of them.
Absolutely. That line was terrible last night. I don't know what the thinking was there.
And that would have been a game where I, as a bettor, who if I didn't watch most of their games, being a fan of them, I would have probably been like, geez, the line says to bet Virginia Tech right there. But,
absolutely.
But I did not fall for that again because I watched the team enough and I just know Miami is just better. They can beat you a lot of different ways. They're pretty good on defense. They're long. They rebound pretty well. Shoot the three-pointer really well. They got a lot of guys. They don't have any great players, but they're very good as a team and they're really well coached.
Yeah, and I think they're a team to watch. I believe. Where do they have them?
They're right now projected as a 5. I think that's major disrespect.
Just reviewing these brackets here, and I thought, well, that is a disrespect because I was looking at some of these.
There are 2 or 3 in my mind.
Some of these other schools that have higher seeds than them, like Indiana and some of these other teams, which I don't think match up well at all with Miami.
I think teams like Indiana.
Michigan
very
State
good.
Kicked the shit out of them last night.
Right. Indiana is great at home. I'm telling you, we talked about this a little bit the other day, Coach, on the radio show about the home teams. West Virginia, these are totally different teams at home.
Yes.
Indiana, Miami can win on the road. That's why I think that they're I mean, they may lose in the first round, but they're playing well enough right now. They may have hit their peak too early, but teams that can win on the road a little bit, you gotta trust a little more. Indiana's only going to win at home. West Virginia's only going to win at home. The good teams can win on the road. Kansas, like you guys were talking about,
yes.
I mean, even Arizona to an extent. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts before I get into some of these teams that are in or out in your minds? Thoughts on the Big 12 as a conference? We talked about it a little the other day on the show. Where do you go? Do you think they're really good, or do you think it's just a balanced league?
I know you're not a Big 12 fan. I know
I'm not either. I'm not either.
I mean, I can't. I just see, just from what I see, watching the Mountaineers and watching some of the other teams, it's just very, very difficult to win on the road.
Agreed with that.
Very difficult to win on the road in any of these places. Like the Mountaineers surprisingly beat Oklahoma State handily at home. Now tonight, after this is going to air, they have to go to Texas Tech. Right. I think they're in trouble tonight.
Me too.
I think they're in big trouble. So I don't.
And Texas Tech's actually a team that's on the next four outline right there.
Where are they playing that game? Didn't they already play at Texas Tech, didn't they?
Oh, they may be at home.
Yeah, they may be at home.
Game.
But Texas Tech's playing for their livelihood too, which to me, that's where my issue is with the Big 12. I think it's a good league. I think it's very balanced and very even. But I don't think to me, Kansas and Texas stand out above the rest of the teams. To me, Kansas State, TCU, they're having good. I think Baylor stinks. I don't think they're good at all.
I don't think they've been good all year.
I don't think Iowa State's very good. I think they're good at home. And I think Baylor is tricky to play against at home. And I think Oklahoma State's not any good. I don't think Texas Tech's any good. I don't think the Mountaineers are very good. So I'm this whole thing about Big 12 being the best league in years, I find that ridiculous.
Now, when they say that, are they just talking about from top to bottom, or are they talking about the talent?
Well, they're thinking that the teams are from top to bottom. Like one can struggle against number 9, but I don't think these teams, other than Kansas, I would say, and Coach and I were talking before the show about Texas. I think Texas has really good players, but when they lost Chris Beard, they lost their kind of their inspiration to defend. He's that guy's very, very tough. Like he is, I'm sure he'd be a tough coach to play for, but he's a winner. So we balance that out. But when they fired him, which ended up looking, he's probably going to sue him now. He didn't even get charged with anything, so they kind of jumped the gun there. But I think Texas has good players, but I don't trust them to be able to get stops. Kansas right now is playing really good. And I'm not a Kansas backer usually, but they're pretty good. I got to say the eye test, they stand up.
And Matt too, with talking about the Mountaineers or teams like that, like they don't have enough talent to go on the road. They almost they have to play because they can't shoot worth a shit.
No, then that one Stevenson kid gets hot. And
this is four school in 4 years. I mean, no. And
Coach
I just
was saying he said the other day about how they what was it about the ACC? They beat every team.
They'd win by 5 games. They'd win.
Wait. They were talking about the Mountaineers?
Yeah. He was saying it. The player was.
Stevenson was.
Oh, okay. Because I heard you, but I didn't know you said it. The player said that. Oh, he's.
Well, I'll tell you what. I can't. When the ACC is not a very good league, but I'll tell you right now, Miami would be a significant favorite against the Mountaineers.
Well, do you like seeing his projected Duke at number 6 down here?
No, I don't understand that either. And that's I don't.
It's just nice not seeing him number 1.
No, I mean they're not. I mean they're not going to do anything. They're another team, much better at home. When they go on the road, they're just average at best. And the ACC is not a good league. I'm not going to say that by any means. North Carolina, preseason number 1, is terrible. Duke's terrible. Clemson lost to Louisville the other day.
Yes.
I mean, I do like Clemson tonight to bounce back. But, it's a bad league. And Miami's doing what they're supposed to do. They're beating the teams that they're supposed to beat, and they're winning games. So I'm not sitting here touting they're going to make a deep run, but they're not bad.
Chris, you are right about that schedule. I was wrong about Texas Tech. They've already played them twice, actually.
Okay.
I don't know how I got confused. I was thinking of Iowa State, but the Mountaineers have to go to Kansas.
Did they play tonight?
No,
they're off today.
Okay. They go to Kansas Saturday, and then they got Iowa State at Iowa State, and then back home against Kansas State. And I would say that they would have to win at least 2 of those 3, I would think.
Yeah, so on the ESPN thing that I printed out this morning that I have here on this sheet, they have them as one of the last 4 in, like the last 4 teams that doesn't have to play a play-in game. And then Oklahoma State, who they beat the other night handily, I don't know. But my problem is with this is like, so you got a team like Charleston where Dalton Bowen plays.
Yeah.
Why not just give them a chance to be? These smaller teams give the second and third best teams in these decent lower leagues a chance. And I'm not a guy who just is all about the underdog either, but these teams that are 8th and 9th, West Virginia's conference record's embarrassing. Yeah. They have no good wins on the road.
They're what, like 5-6 games under 500 in the conference.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I was watching. I think it was a couple weeks ago. They were on the road at Baylor, and the announcer was asking the analyst. I forget who the guy was about. Well, are they still legitimately have a shot to get in a tournament? And this guy
they're 5-10 in the league.
And one of you guys just mentioned, or the eye test. I don't give a shit about strength of schedule, all these analytics, or whatever you put in front of me. Your eyes tell you that West Virginia doesn't belong. They're not going to. If they'd be lucky to win a first round game,
right?
So you're right. Go with a Charleston, and even a fucking Penn State. I don't care. But
the other side of that, from a betting aspect, I kind of hope that teams like that make it in. Because I will be going against them, and their chances are they're going to end up being an 8-9 or whatever. 7. They got them as a 12 right here. Mm-hmm. I'll be fine to bet against teams like that because I don't trust the law.
Now these are just projected.
Yeah, this was like Andy Katz, or maybe not even him. Maybe might have been a guy from ESPN.
Looking through it and seeing Yale in there, Colgate. You see Irvine. I know that.
Some of these are the automatic bids,
but it's that's what makes this tournament so great.
They have. I'm looking at the Ken Palm ratings right now.
Right.
Mountaineers are actually 21st in the country.
It's ridiculous
in Ken Palm ratings,
and I think Ken Palm's pretty sharp. I think that rating is completely bogus.
Can you tell me what that means? What is it?
He just has
Ken Pomeroy.
Ken Pomeroy has a statistical algorithm that he runs with all these X factors of things, and it's very highly regarded as one of the most accurate projectors of power ratings in college basketball. So that's where he's got.
And he said what? 21st?
Yeah, they're right now. They're 20,
and that's probably why they'll get in.
Yeah, and most of it honestly is most of this. Strength. Now I'm not. Yeah, strength of schedule.
That's because they play in that league, what they consider a good league.
I'm not saying that's everything that goes into it, but that's probably the biggest factor is strength of schedule. Like Charleston, you guys were talking about Charleston. Charleston is 66th, and they're 26-3.
Right.
And I think Charleston would probably beat the Mountaineers, I would think.
I think they'd have a great chance because of the tempo that they can play at is hard to stop. We see it with West Liberty firsthand. When teams aren't used to playing like that's very tough to do.
And I agree too with you guys about if you have a mediocre record or you're on the fence, if you don't have any significant road wins. To me, we're going to turn the page and look at somebody else.
Right.
And the Mountaineers have gotten their ass kicked several times this year.
And they're going to get it again Saturday, I think.
They'll definitely get it again Saturday. And then they have Miami. Miami's 31st in the Ken Palm ratings. Yeah. And they are 23-5. 23-5.
That's stupid. That's whatever.
Yeah, well, we'll see. It's getting down to that time of year where you'll just put up or shut up, I guess. Conference tournaments right around the corner, so we'll see who's going to be. I know Miami's right now on projected to be to get the double bye in the ACC. So them in Virginia. So that'll be good. That Big 12 tournament will be crazy, but I would have to put my money on Kansas right now.
Yeah.
They're right now the strongest team. I think Texas can match them with players, but I just don't think coaching-wise they can. So I'll be a little concerned. All right, well, before we wrap up the first segment, anybody that you would back right now? I have a couple teams that I think maybe Final Four type. I'll tell you a team that I watched the other night for the second time in a week that I think is pretty good, and they'll probably get their ass kicked tonight as they go to UConn, is Providence. I like them. I thought they have some players. They have something about them that tells me they could be a good tournament team. They don't quit. They defend. They rebound pretty well. They got some good guards. I think they're early in the year. I didn't think they were that good, but I like them a little bit. But
Ken Palm has them 29th in this, so they're ranked pretty high. So
where does he have UCLA at?
UCLA is third.
Okay, because that would be my team right now. If I was going to make a national championship pick, I would go with UCLA.
I agree with that. St. Mary's is ranked 8th. I'd pick them to be in the Final Four. I like them to go to the Final Four.
You can get St. Mary's to make the Final Four at about between 7 and 10 to 1, so that's a pretty good bet.
That's a pretty good number, yeah. Out of the Big 12, I'd say in the Big 12 tournament, boy, that's just such a toss-up. I just don't.
It'll be a wild one.
I just don't know. I mean, Kansas State looks good at times. Like they beat. They just beat Baylor by 15 last night.
Right. And then even Iowa State thumped Kansas at home.
Yeah.
These teams, they elevated the way these teams take their game to another level at home with that crowd is just what an advantage it is. It really is.
So those are the teams I like. St. Mary's, maybe Kansas State a little bit. You like Providence?
Yeah, I thought Providence, and I think Providence could be a Sweet 16 Elite 8 type team. I think they'll be tough in that Big East tournament. I don't know how good Creighton is. I don't think Seton Hall's very good. Marquette's playing pretty well. They had a nice win last night. I don't like UConn at all. What about some of these other teams, these bubble teams? Have you guys seen anything from Memphis or Boise? I haven't watched either one of those teams a whole lot. What about Mississippi State? I found them to be not very good.
Well, they what did they do last night? They played Missouri, didn't they? Missouri beat them by 2.
Yeah, it was a close. Yeah, really.
Missouri won by 2.
Yeah.
Mississippi State covered.
Yeah, I like New Mexico a little bit. They're kind of a bubble team and in the beginning of the year I liked Oregon, but I don't like that pick at all. Arizona State, Texas Tech, Penn State, Pitt. I don't know. I don't think Texas Tech's probably worthy of being in. Arizona State's terrible, but. I don't know. I guess I don't. It's hard to trust your eyes. Sometimes you don't know, but if you watch a team, I feel like more than 2 or 3 times, you kind of get an idea if they're decent or what kind of strengths.
Either one of you guys have mentioned Alabama.
Well, let you take that one away with this. Now we got a guy giving the gun to the guy that shot the girl.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's their top freshman. Is he going to be available? Because I told Champ that today. I'll be worried about Alabama.
I read, I know the situation and everything, but that coach just pretty much just swept it under the rug.
He said wrong place, wrong time. Some girl got killed.
Yeah. He delivered the gun to the guy that.
Yeah, wrong place, wrong time. Yeah, that was a really bad quote by Nate Oates.
Well, I want to tell you what, but in this we see this all the time, regardless of whatever it's in relation to. Of course, he had to come out and say his remarks came across
taken out of context
poorly.
All poorly.
He said that he was trying to be thoughtful speaking on it, but then the way he worded it came across, I guess, insensitive or whatnot. And
little.
But winning trumps everything.
Sure.
Winning and talent.
No
because
doubt.
this kid,
that guy was the 13th man. He'd be out of school.
Right. He's going to be a lottery pick.
Yeah. Oh, he's really good. He's good.
He's averaging 19. And he's a freshman.
He's a freshman. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just like I don't know. I just don't see how. I mean, these coaches are supposed to be leaders of men, but when you're ranked, they're number 2 right now. But I just think what do you teach anybody here? I mean, he had something to do with it. He's an accessory.
Yeah,
right? I mean, my God. I mean, short
of the guy stealing the gun from him or taking it without him knowing, maybe he could plead ignorance.
But what is he thinking?
It was a registered gun, I believe, though, wasn't it?
From what I read, it didn't indicate whether it was or not. But if you guys, not that any of us have guns, but if you say, hey, coach, bring that gun down to the studio.
Yes.
And you don't even really say anything why, and you just say, okay, sure. And then, we leave here and someone's laying out in the street dead.
Right.
I mean.
Right. That's a big difference than me going home to Ace's room and taking his gun unknowingly to him and shooting somebody.
Yeah. It's a bad look.
Job doesn't have any guns in the desk, I don't think. So.
No. And I just, to me, that just really looks like that coach is a fucking slime ball. Nate Oates. That's just bad.
As you said, Matt, that could have an effect on how they play, what what down the road, what's going to happen with him. Have the players lost respect?
And then what's the university going to do?
Right. And now all the, when they go on the road, I'm sure they're going to be hearing.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to be hearing it from the crowd.
They should.
I'd be figuring out ways to heckle him. I know that.
So you got to think, maybe play against Alabama here for a minute and see how they respond to this. But that's a good point. That could be anything outside of off the court that affects a team like that. Usually usually comes into play at some point.
It shows its ugly face.
It might be something to look at for you.
I just hope for karma. Yeah. But they said that there was no crime for him to be charged with, according to what I read.
I mean, perhaps not.
But
it's still not a great thing, guilt by association kind of thing.
Well, but if he was averaging
maybe that girl's not dead if he doesn't have it.
But if he was averaging 3 points a game,
he'd be
10 minutes,
he'd be done.
He'd
already be gone.
Right.
Keep it in the SEC real quick before we take a break. What are your guys' thoughts? Kentucky seems to be playing a little bit better right now. Any thoughts on them or Tennessee? Coach, a team
fading Tennessee hard. Yeah. I think they've tailed off. They're
can't score.
They cannot score, and they just there's another team can't win on the road right now. It's just it's not a good place for them right now. Tennessee, they got beat again. Yesterday they got beat. Who did they play yesterday? Yeah, they lost.
Was it last night or 2 nights ago?
Oh shoot, who did they just play? They played last night. Champ and I were talking about it. They lost Texas A&M.
There you go, A&M. Yeah,
they lost to A&M. And A&M's another little sneaky team. And keep an eye on Texas A&M.
They've been playing
keep an eye on Texas A&M, but I'd fade Tennessee, and I like Kentucky. As you just said,
I think
Kentucky is.
They play Florida tonight. Florida, I don't like at all, and Florida's top scores out. But
what's the line on that game?
I think it's like 6.
Okay.
6.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, real quick, you guys know more about these conferences in the conference tournaments. Even just set betting aside, if you just want to be entertained by good basketball, what would you recommend? Like, what out of the Big Five conference? Which ones are you looking forward to?
Out of the Big Five ones, I would say that the Big 12 conference will be a great tournament.
Yeah.
Because I think those teams are evenly matched. I don't think they're great teams. Right. I think they're evenly matched. Some of the teams can't play defense. I think the scoring in that league, TCU's putting up 100. Kansas
I think the worst league to watch would be the Big Ten.
Big Ten will be the most boring, that's for sure.
And there just aren't any good teams there. Other than Purdue, Michigan State's up and down. Indiana's up and down. There's not a team you can say is really good. Wisconsin's, they're
horrible to watch.
They're
Illinois
on the bubble.
Up and down.
Illinois up and down. Ohio State's worst team in the country.
Minnesota's terrible.
Purdue's good Rutgers is good at home.
Yeah, Rutgers was a team. I hated to see them lose their big man because I thought they were a team that can make some noise because they do defend and they are good at home. But I think they can win on the road too. Maryland's a team too. Their scoring's inconsistent because they could be the best team in that league.
Yeah, but I think it's a bad conference. Very bad.
It's a struggle.
It's boring, just like their football.
It must be a rule about that. No, I would say Big 12 will be a good match. But if you're ever going to see some a Big East be pretty even too. But then you get down into these
but I've always
Colonials and Horizon League. That'll be a great tournament.
I enjoy those more than the
Big South. Missouri Valley's always good. So, all right, well, we're going to take a break here on Bettor's Last Stand. We're going to come back in segment 2, talk some NHL, very little NBA, and then some golf. We'll be right back on Bettor's Last Stand.
This show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activity should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537.
All right, welcome back into Bettor's Last Stand, segment number 2. Matt here along with Chris and Coach. Talked some college basketball there in our first segment. Now we're going to shift over to a little NHL. I want to get Chris's opinion on a few of these as our Penguins are really struggling right now. Chris, last night or 2 nights ago, the game against the Islanders was maybe the season low. As they get Jari back, and you're thinking maybe they're going to make a playoff push here, and they blow a lead and succumb to the Islanders on home ice.
I think that's the 4th time they've done that this year. I don't know if it was all on home ice when they were leading going into the third period.
Do you see any hope for this team? Do you think it's just it's over? Because that's kind of what I think.
I from what I've seen, they stand no chance. You have a third line and can't produce anything. The fourth line is just okay. So they're relying on all their older stars to carry the team.
And the goaltending's been putrid.
And so, Crosby's going to be worn down by the end of this season.
So right now the Penguins minus 190 to make the playoffs, plus 155. No, I heavily recommend a no bet right now. Obviously you may want to wait till the trade deadline, but I don't think the Penguins are in a position where Ron Hextall can do anything.
It seems like they're so strapped with the up against the cap, and
they're just wasting roster spots like guys like Kapanen, and they're paying money to. It'd be nice they could get rid of him and use that space to acquire someone, or they can't even bring Ty Smith up on the roster because he would put him over the cap.
No, we talked, I think, Sunday. We were talking about Brock McGinn.
Yeah, he's off to
23 straight games.
Yeah, and Carter's not much better.
Without a freaking point.
It's hard to do. Champ could skate around out there and touch a puck somewhere where you would get an assist.
A secondary assist. Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy.
Coach, have you watched many of the Penguin games recently? They're struggling pretty bad.
I bet them.
You've been fading against them?
I bet a game under the other night. I like that game.
It was a great under. It was going to be a great under, and then all of a sudden it just comes apart. That's the problem with them.
We bet the under on Friday night.
Yeah, just all of a sudden.
The 5-4 game.
Oh, yeah.
The 5-4 game was literally going to be a scoreless through the first period. It was like 12 minutes. There was no chances at all. And then, boom, one goal goes in, and then two, and then three, and then four. It's the Penguins, their goaltending just baffles me. When their goalie loses it, it's over with. It's weird because they used to be like that kind of flurry when he would have bad performances like that. For as great as he is in the Hall of Fame, but like if once they would lose it, it would be okay. Here we go. It's going to be an onslaught of goals. But I would recommend the Penguins a no to make the playoffs. I think that's a strong bet.
I do too.
Chris, let me ask you a few other ones right now. Detroit. Plus 340 to make the playoffs, minus 450. No, I don't think Detroit's that bad. I'm not sure they're going to be able to get in because of the division that they're in and stuff. But I mean, they're on 62 points right now. The Penguins are 63. So I think the Red Wings are better than the Penguins, to be honest with you. They got a good good young team. I think taking a shot with them minus 340 to make the playoffs is a really good bet. I also thought the Sabres at plus $4 to make the playoffs.
They're a good young team. They're exciting to watch.
Both of these teams are going to play their asses off the rest of the season because they know they're like a year ahead of time because the Wings and the Sabres will both be pretty good next year, kind of like the Devils were last year. And these teams like the Penguins, I just wonder how they're going to be once these old guys realize they're fucked or they're going to have to play the Bruins in the first round. Now the Carolina doesn't scare me a ton, but
it's a horrible matchup for them.
Yeah, I mean they played Carolina tough this year. In every game they've lost a 1-goal game, but they'll never win. They're never beating.
What is the Penguins' schedule like? What are their?
They got a lot of games in hand, but if they can't win them, it won't matter.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But they do. I mean, they play the Oilers tomorrow.
So they have 26 games left.
Right.
Yes.
And I mean, they're.
I mean, is their schedule conducive to? Is it?
No, because when I went down and looked through it,
they still play the Flyers a few, like
right?
2 or 3
but
times.
this next stretch of games right here, they got the Oilers at home. They'll probably lose that game.
Yes.
At St. Louis, the game they should be able to win, but they won't. Even if they do, it'll be fortunate. Then they play at Tampa Bay, which they probably won't win that game. Then they're at Nashville. That's a 50-50. Then at Tampa. Then at Florida. I mean, those are games that they're not going to be favored in either one of those two games. And they come back home against Columbus, a team they should be able to beat. And then they're the Islanders, who kind of have their number, have had them the last few years. Then they get to the Flyers, where that's a game they should be able to get points out of. And the Rangers will be they play the Rangers 3 out of 4 games coming up here in March. They play them on Sunday the 12th, and they play them again the 16th and the 18th of the month. Those are going to be huge games.
And they're going to look back, too, and squandering games like the Sharks.
No, I don't think their schedule. I think their schedule says they don't make it, and I don't think it's close. Now, unless there's something that happens, like Jari gets hot and changes the dynamic of the team, which I don't see happening, and I doubt they trade for anyone. But
so they're on the outside looking in right now, right?
They just got passed up the other night by the Islanders.
By the Islanders, but they do have 4 games in hand on both those teams, right?
They do. Which could be helpful if they can get some points, but. Man, they're just so hot and cold in the way that the game can be in total control and then they can fall apart.
Yeah.
So your best future bets right now, Matt, would be the Penguins not to make the playoffs.
I like the Penguins. No,
the Red Wings to make the playoffs.
I think taking a shot on Buffalo or Detroit to sneak in there, I don't think is a bad move because you have The Islanders and the Panthers are in the last two wild card spots. They each have, Islanders have 65, Panthers 64. You got the Red Wings at 62. And the Red Wings have played 4 less games than the Panthers and the Islanders. So they have games in hand, and the Sabres have played 5 less games. So they have 5 games in hand on those teams. And I'm telling you, Detroit and Buffalo got slaughtered the other night. They came back off of a road trip, which is an angle that we always talk about on here. Those teams coming back off long road trips, first game at home, fade them. It's about 80% this year in hockey. So keep that up. Sabres got crushed, but they're going to bounce back. I really think those teams have a chance. I think Washington, unless Ovi gets back and going here quickly, they're going to start to struggle because they're old too. But I have no trust in the Penguins or the Capitals.
No, it kind of stinks seeing those two teams down there at the bottom of that Metropolitan Division. But just it's age; it catches up with them.
And then the funny thing is, like you mentioned, the older, the better players, the long time, the Hall of Fame caliber players, they're still pulling their weight. It's rest of the roster that has let them down.
Wonder what guys like Crosby and Malkin they're out there. I mean, in order for them to win, they have to produce. I wonder if it just drains them, thinking every night, well, fuck, if we don't produce, the third and fourth lines aren't going to.
Right.
I mean, I wonder how that affects teams like Jesus Christ, after a while.
At some point, they're going to have to, say, I don't know what we can do. Like what? Right. Because they don't like to break the team up, and they're not. I don't think they will. But
can anybody beat Boston?
I think so. I think Carolina. There's word that Carolina's going to get Patrick Kane here to trade deadline, so that's coming up here. And when you see where a couple of guys like that, some finishing pieces that get some depth on the lineup, I think Carolina. I think Boston's going to succumb to the same thing that Tampa did a few years ago. They're going to race out. They're going to have games that mean nothing here for the last few weeks of the season, and I think that they won't do very well in that role. And I think somebody will get them. I do. Chris, what do you think?
I mean, just looking at some of these teams and their records, I know you don't like Toronto, but I give them.
I just don't trust Toronto. Now, they're a team too. They're making trades. They're already making moves, so they could be. If they could ever get goaltending though. Last night they looked really good, but I don't know. Hockey playoffs will be fun. They're going to be interesting.
Two questions. Who's the best team in the West, and who are your sleepers to make some noise in the West, and then who would you fade to not make the playoffs or to come out?
I think in the Western Conference, I'm big on the Kings. I like the Kings a lot. I still think that the Kings can win the Pacific Division. I think I gave that out on the show. I know a few weeks back. I liked
2 points behind Vegas.
I was hoping that they're going to get a little active here in the trade deadline and maybe make a couple of moves. But the Kings were a team to me at 19-1 to win the Western Conference and plus 395 to win the Pacific Division. They're a team that I'm really high on. I think eventually, if Colorado gets a little healthier, they're kind of going to be a dark horse. Not really, but they're totally different than they were last year. But they're good. They're getting healthy at the right time. And I've been impressed with visually, when we talked about eye test, I've been very impressed with the Jets. I think if the Jets could add a little more offense, they play good defense, they get good goaltending. I like the way that they play as a team. I think they're very good. And I'll tell you, the Kraken play their asses off. Their talent level is not very good, but they could be dangerous. But I would say the Jets and the Kings would be two teams a little under the radar in the West that I would be and I will be backing. I will be fading the Edmonton Oilers massively, even if they even make the playoffs. I don't trust them. They don't defend at all. The Wild will be as good as Fleury can be. They have a good team, but they're just a little inconsistent. Vegas, I'll be against them as well. And Dallas just don't have enough firepower for me. Chris, what do you think?
I like you mentioned the Jets and Avalanche, and because I watched both of those games when they beat the Penguins. I think they were both at home. Well, actually, the Pens beat the Avalanche, but there were stretches in that game that Avalanche with their speed. I mean, they looked like the Harlem Globetrotters compared to the Penguins. I know that it's
Cale McCarr got another concussion though the other night, which is a concern.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, second in a week.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, that could be a bit. Yes. That's a huge blow, obviously. But
he's great.
But just their talent and their speed, and the Jets just put on a clinic.
Jets are awesome. I think they were a clinical team. I thought they were very impressive to watch. So we'll see what they add during the trade deadline, and hopefully we can.
I'll root against the Golden Knights only because, what are this, like their fourth or fifth season?
Yeah.
They were given a team with a lot of talent. They've never had to suffer through any, or their fans anyways. Like,
no, their fans,
yeah.
they say the fans are spoiled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. I don't know, sometimes about the Predators, but not just like the Golden Knights, okay,
Right.
whatever. Vegas, that's a cool place to be, and we got a great team. And so I won't root for them, but you can't count them out because they are good.
All right, so I'm going with the Sabres and Wings to make the playoffs in the East, Penguins the not, and then I like the Kings to win the division. I also expect the Jets to be a team that could potentially make a deep run. Winnipeg right now, 31-1 to win the Stanley Cup. About $12 to win the Western Conference. They're probably not going to win their division, but that's all right. They actually, where are the Jets in that division? Oh, that's a good question.
Jets are second.
No, they're well within striking distance. Yeah, so right now, if you can get a price on the Jets to win the what the hell division is that? Central, yeah, the Central, they're plus $5. That's a cheese,
and they're
better than I expected.
A point behind the Stars.
Yeah, so
same amount of games played.
I would take a look at them. So, all right, let's shift over quickly to NBA. Chris, this is where we're gonna count on you because Cooley's not here today. I just want to know a few teams that are going to make or miss the playoffs. I gave out the Thunder and the Wizards a couple of times. I still like the Thunder and the Wizards to both make it. Right now, the Wizards plus 155 to make it. Thunder plus $6 to make the playoffs. And I'm really having a hard time understanding why that is. Can you shed any light on why no one believes that the Oklahoma City Thunder can make the playoffs? Because right now they're in the 10th spot, so they're in the play-in. So why couldn't they beat the Pelicans? The Pelicans are no good without bastard Zion.
No. Wait, how does that work again? I know the play.
7 plays 10, 8 plays 9, and then if
is that a 2 out of 3?
Yes,
yeah,
I believe so.
2 out of 3.
Well, no, it's funny, and I may be wrong about this. So consult before you make any wagers. I think the higher seed plays both games. They host the games. If the lower seed beats them, they got to play again against the man. It's very. I need to because there's a chance that the higher seed team only has to win, I think, one time to get into the playoff round, whereas the lower seed team would have to go on the road. Like if the Thunder played the Pelicans and they went to New Orleans and they beat the Pelicans, then they would have to play the winner of Minnesota, or the loser of the Minnesota Warriors. State. Yeah, it honestly, I have to refresh myself on it. It's really weird, but it's actually kind of good.
But the top 6, they're in.
Yeah.
Okay, so the 7, so they okay.
So there's actually when the playoffs actually start, there's 8 teams, right?
There'll be 8 teams, exactly. So the play-in tournament is a little bit different. Gotcha. So then when you're betting a team to make the playoffs, be sure you're checking with your book to be sure that it is actually the 8-team playoff field. There are places that have out there to make the play-in games, so those are 2 different bets. So in my case here, I think the Thunder at 6-1 to make it into the top 8. I think it's got a chance. I don't see why it doesn't. They could easily. I wouldn't want them to have to play the Warriors though in their play-in game. So that could be a problem because you'd imagine that the Warriors would be playing decently by then.
The Lakers are not going to make the playoffs, correct?
Well, they're pretty far out of it right now. They're really only a couple of games out of the play-in games.
They're 2 games out of the play-in games.
They have a chance. They made those trades maybe if they get a little more.
You want them in, Coach?
Do I want them in?
Yeah.
No. I do not. I don't follow NBA that much, but that is one thing I don't want to happen.
How about in the Eastern Conference, Chris?
Well, just looking at the strength of this league is in the East, obviously. You look at the top.
Yeah, I guess.
Guys.
Now in the Nets, I don't know about them, but yeah.
But hell,
the Heat are going to be better. The Heat are already they're improving. So
yeah, and what about the Hawks? They fired Nate McMillan.
Is that going to help them? They said because what's his name, Trae Young didn't like him. So yeah,
who did they get? Did they just?
I don't think
they promoted a guy from
okay.
So, I still think the Wizards can make it, so they'll be back in the Wizards. And then I thought maybe the T-Wolves in the West as well, but I can't really trust them. What are your thoughts on your Cavs? Are they worth a bet to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, or do you see?
Yeah, I don't know. I just think they're still so young.
Would you rather them be the 4 seed and get a shot at the Celtics, or would you rather them have to play the Bucks or the Sixers in the conference semifinals?
Well, I don't know. That's
well, can they get beat by? Can they get by Brooklyn Will they beat?
Probably now since Brooklyn traded Durant.
Yeah,
I would say so.
Okay.
The Cavs should be decently favored in that series. But I tell you what, they don't want to have happen is the Heat come up. I would not want to play them. The Heat are only 2 games out of fifth place. I would not want to play them if I'm the Cavs.
Yeah,
I think that's a bad matchup for them.
Well, Chris, you got to be on the edge of your seat waiting for the NBA playoffs, I would imagine, right?
The only thing I really just interested in just for the Cavaliers because
I'd love to see them win without LeBron. It would actually make me very happy.
You're still trying to come down off the high from the All-Star game, aren't you? I mean, that was.
Do you have the over? Coach won the easiest bet of his life. Weeks betting the under.
I watched some of that. I didn't watch it.
Mark, it was.
Well, I didn't watch. I just saw some highlights when they were talking about how bad it was. Because what coach said it was the worst game?
The Nuggets, Mike Malone
said it's the worst basketball game
ever. And he's not wrong.
Not
like any level of basketball. He said.
And he's a coach of that league. He's a coach of a team in that league.
That was
a good team. Too.
Yeah,
you're paying money to go see that garbage. You got to be a bored person. What do you guys? What would you, if you had to choose? What would you rather go see, the NFL Pro Bowl or the NBA All-Star game?
Pro Bowl.
Well, guys, we were at the Vets Club the day they had that skills, whatever, the Pro Bowl competition, right? Or what we saw Sunday night. It was just disturbingly embarrassing for both leagues. I can't believe that people would pay money to go watch that. I mean,
that would get you to go to Salt Lake City, Utah.
But I tell you, those the powers that be in these leagues must just think that we like watching that stuff. I mean, it was god awful. When I went home and went to bed, I don't know what the score was, but when I got up, the game was still going on when I got home, but I couldn't believe that score.
There were almost 100 points scored in every quarter.
Yeah. Yeah, like the first quarter was the lowest scoring. It was like 92 or something.
92, yeah.
So are they eventually going to just do away with it? They won't do away with it, but because nobody plays hard. Just like that NHL All-Star game is just about as embarrassing as well. Yeah. But I mean, who did you read or hear anybody say, boy, that was really entertaining?
No. I would like, that's why if Cooley was on today, I want to ask his honest opinion.
He probably thought it was great.
Tyler,
I'm sure he probably did.
But I wonder if any of the players, like maybe a few of the older guys, felt like embarrassed. Like, this is a joke that we're.
Yeah. Well, those Hall of Famers that were in attendance, they probably couldn't wait for it to get over.
Yeah. So I feel bad for those.
All right, that's enough of that stuff. Yeah, all right, let's get on and finish this segment out with golf here, Coach. This is Coach, in your wheelhouse. Now we talked a little before Honda Classic. They're coming back east here. We're getting ready for the big run of big East Coast tournaments leading up to the Masters in April. The Honda Classic down at PGA National in Palm Beach Gardens.
Really tough course.
Yes, a lot of water. Not an easy course at all, and not a good field.
And a lot of the experts say it makes these pro golfers look like us out there now because
this particular course.
Yeah, it's a very difficult. Water everywhere.
Yeah, it is nice to see this though. I enjoy these tough courses.
Yeah, and
I hate the 30 under par stuff.
I agree, and I think the greens are very difficult. It's that Bermuda grass.
Yep.
Green that's going to make it really tough. Your straight hitters are going to be real effective here, not your power hitters, your guys that play consistently.
Doesn't really reward you for the length as much.
Play consistently straight. I like a couple of guys. I like Chris Kirk.
Okay.
I think he'll be tough.
Chris Kirk around 32 to 1.
Yeah, 32 to 1. I like him to finish in the top 10.
Okay.
I like Chris Kirk at plus 330 to finish in the top 10. I like Harris English a little bit.
Yep.
Plus 440 in the top 10. Some guys that I would fade. Shane Lowry, I'm not. He has played well. I don't like him. I'm going to fade him. I don't
like him either. I don't think he hits it straight and accurate enough. He can hit it pretty hard and far, but this doesn't seem like a Shane Lowry type course.
I agree. Denny McCarthy, I like him.
He's played well here in the past.
Yeah, he has. He tied for 14th last week. I think he could be. I think he could make some noise. He'd be good in a matchup. Actually, I like him. He is. Who's he matched up against?
Denny McCarthy.
Woolley. I like him. I like Cameron Davis over Sepp Straka in the matchups. And some of the other guys that I like, Lee Hodges a little bit as a dark horse.
Okay.
He finished 9th here last year. I sort of like him a little bit. I'm going to play him in a matchup. And then another one I like in the top 10, I like Adam Svensson.
Yeah, I have him too.
A little bit in the top 10. I like him. I like him to finish in the top 10. I don't know what his odds are.
Svensson, I have him 35-1.
35-1 to finish in the top 10.
Well, in the top 10, I have him about plus $4. So that's pretty good. 4-1. So that's a good bet. I've seen Svensson around between 35 and 40-1. I have him as a guy that I had circled. Obviously, Sung J M is the favorite here. I would not recommend betting him.
No.
What I say on the show pretty much every week. This comes out after they start, but you can still get value. Our picks will still carry some water heading into the weekend. So check out where Sung J M, if he comes off to a bad start, you'll get him double or triple that 8-1 that he is right now. You don't want to play a guy like this in a tournament like this where there's not that many great players and his price is cut down so low. If John Rahm and Rory McIlroy and all these guys are in this thing, Sung J M's like 25-1, and he's 8-1 this week. So I'm not saying he can't win. He's really good. So he's definitely worthy favorite, but don't play the favorites. Look for guys at larger prices. Guys that I thought outside of the guys that coach, I liked Harris English a lot. Coach just mentioned him. I think a guy that I would take a look at here who's played well here in the past and is starting to get his game back is Webb Simpson. He's not a long hitter. He's an accurate hitter. You could find him 100-1. He's too good of a golfer to be 100-1 in this field. If his game starts coming back, I would take a shot with him. Top 5s, top 10s, anything like that. You can get him about 8-1 to be in the top 10. It's a great bet. Eric Van Rooyen, another guy coming back off of injury. He is 80-1 this week. Not sure he can win, but I would definitely take a look at him in your top 10s and your top 20s. He's around $750 plus $750 plus $8, somewhere in that range. Guys who I think could win it. I think Jonathan Vegas, I think will be tough. 35-1. You can get him a top 10 at plus $3. I think he's dangerous here. Billy Horschel's a guy I've been back in the last few weeks. He hasn't lived up to what I was hoping, but he's a guy that can shoot a low score. He's 35-1. I probably wouldn't play him pre-match, but I will see how he does the first round and then maybe get him at 40 or 50 going into the weekend. And then I think Matt Kuchar's game is starting to come back a little bit. Like his game at this course. He's 25-1. I probably wouldn't play him pre-match again. I'd hope to get maybe 30 or 40 on him later in the weekend. The Taylor Pendrith, another guy, 35-1. Maybe a little too low of a price for me to take a shot with him, but those are a couple of guys that I like. Chris, anybody on your radar?
Yeah, Minwoo Lee.
Oh, yeah. Yep. No, I had Minwoo circled as well as he could be a guy. I think his odds are a little too low, but 25-1, but Minwoo can play.
And I was just looking at this, and I'm going to I got to find it again. I forget who it was. Aaron Wise on a matchup over Alex Noren.
Boom. Take it to the bank right there,
you go.
Chris.
That's all I got.
I have Aaron Wise down to play him this week, too. So, like him, too. So,
all right.
Even though it's not a great field, you can still make money.
Absolutely.
And sometimes those are the better ones to play, actually.
And we tell you every week on here just about the value of golf in-play wagering, and Coach can speak to it. You can get these guys at great prices if they don't play well the first round. You can get guys 7-8 shots behind coming into Friday evening or Saturday, and you can get great prices on them. So highly recommend that. One thing, too, that I forgot to mention during the college basketball underdogs of 10-plus points or more, 98 and 65 ATS this season, 60%. So that plays right into what Coach said about the NCAA tournament and some of these big dogs that we're going to have. So, all right, we're going to take a break on Bettor's Last Stand. We're going to come back. We're going to finish up with XFL, World Baseball Classic, and NASCAR. You're listening to Bettor's Last Stand.
This show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. All wagering activity should only be conducted by those 21 years of age or older and within the confines of federal, state, and local law. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, contact 1-800-GAMBLER, 1-800-426-2537.
All All right, welcome back into Bettor's Last Stand. We're going to finish up here with a little bit of XFL football, keeping football on the show for all 29 weeks of this show. So, stay with the times. We got USFL coming up here in April, too, so talk about that, too. We can try to win some money here. XFL was in its inaugural week for this season, anyway, and then we're going to talk some WBC and finish up with some NASCAR. XFL was okay. I watched a couple of the games. I had the first game of the weekend. I had Vegas catching 2.5 against Arlington, and they scored late to cover. And I was hoping that Vegas went for 2 to try to tie the game, and I was hoping so badly they didn't get it, so I could just take the win because there was like 0 seconds left. So I got a win there. But the unders, we were 2-2 in the unders and the overs, and then 3-1 for the favorites. DC was the actually no, that's wrong. I might have that wrong. We actually had that was 3-1 favorites won outright. That was not straight up. It was 2-2. Yeah. So DC was a +1.5, and they won outright. I did have them. So I had them in Vegas. I did play all the games under, which didn't turn out great. 2-2, but overall, I didn't think it was terrible. I do like the way of some of their rules.
Yes.
I like the way, which Chris is going to get into here. Chris, what were some of your observations? I know you watched a couple of the games.
I had a quiet Saturday night. I stayed home, was alcohol-free, and I turned on, and I didn't even know it was on, but Orlando and Houston.
Right.
And it was, I was entertained. Believe it or not, Paxton Lynch got benched.
Yeah, how about that, huh? It's hard to believe.
He got benched. But what I liked about it, and I didn't even know this was a rule until I started watching the game. Are you familiar with how they do the kickoffs?
Yeah. Well, the guy's got to stand still.
Yeah.
Wait, what is this now?
The kicking team, the kicker kicks off from the 30, but the other teams are at the other end. So the team receiving stands on 30. The defending team is 5 yards away at the 35. The kicker kicks it. Only the kicker and the receiver can move. And nobody
until he catches it.
Or if it hits the ground after 3 seconds. But if it doesn't reach the 20 on a fly, if they let it bounce, then it's dead. If he leaves it dead, then the receiving team gets it at the 45.
45, okay.
So it's
weird, Coach. They're like standing there waiting for this guy to catch it. No one's moving, and then they can't move until it's designed to stop the high speed collisions.
Oh,
right. Okay.
And
it gives you maybe a chance for a guy to return.
Well, and they were saying, and I know that the 2020 season got because of COVID, but they were saying when they implemented that rule, like 98% of the kickoffs were being returned. And I think they were saying that maybe this past year in the NFL, like 38% only got. Yeah. And that's such a waste of time. We watched this.
They have some rules that I think the NFL should.
Oh, I do too. So that was pretty cool. And I don't know. I like the tiered extra points.
Yeah.
But you don't kick.
You can go up for up to 3. Yeah. So again, when you're betting these games now, 9-point game, you're still in the mix for a potential tie or whatever. Coach, it's a one-possession game.
If we're at the Vets on a Sunday and there's a game, any number's good because, you get 1 point from the 2, 2 points from the 5, or 3 from the 10.
Right. I thought it was interesting, too, in the strategy of the coaches late in the games. So in the NFL, it's always perceived, well, you're going to kick the extra point here to go up the score, or if you're on 7, kicking a point to go up 8. You'll always do it, but in this it's different because you always are doing it from a conversion, from a line of scrimmage. So trying to make it be a 2-possession game then comes into play more, where you would see maybe a team decides to go for 2 instead of 1, or 3 instead of 2 to try to make it that extra possession of a game. Whereas on the NFL you don't have that option because you're kicking in obviously the higher percentage. Kick the point. But, so you got things like that come into play. I didn't think it was terrible, Chris. Did you have any wagers on the games?
No, I didn't. Like I said, I was half asleep. I turned it on and wasn't even thinking about it. But
it's a ringing endorsement.
Well, no. I was entertained by it. I like the uniforms and all that. But the overtime is different too. It's like the NHL.
Yeah.
Now I don't think there weren't any overtime games, but
no,
they alternate.
There almost was.
They just start at the 5,
right,
and then they alternate.
Yeah. So it's similar, or like the college, a variation similar to college.
Yes, but just college is what, the 24
25.
Yeah, 25. Yeah.
But you can get it first. Yeah, but
right, and then when the college after the second, now they go to that 2-point conversion stuff.
Yes.
So yeah,
but there's probably some rules that maybe the NFL could adopt. I don't know.
I think that the multiple points for the conversions. I think, and I tell you what else I like a lot is the fourth down. Is that what it is? The fourth down where you can?
No, it's for the onside.
Oh, the onside kick. Yeah, you have like a fourth down situation where you got to convert. 4th and 15 situation. If you convert it, you get the ball. That's your onside kick.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I do remember.
I think the NFL should do that because we saw one onside kick the whole year in the NFL. Maybe one.
Yeah.
Wasn't there one? I think there was one in a game that somebody, of course, that I didn't need to get it. That would never be the case. All right. So real quick, my observations on these games. I thought, to me, Seattle looked like a team. I thought Seattle and San Antonio both look like under teams to me. So Seattle plays St. Louis this week, 36.5 the total. I like that game under. I like Seattle a little bit in that as well. I think they're all right. They run the ball pretty well. Liked what I saw out of them defensively. So they're going to be under teams for me, Seattle and San Antonio. So I'll be playing San Antonio in Orlando under 38.5. I thought DC's pretty good. They're catching 3 against Vegas. I'll be taking them plus the 3. That's on Saturday. And then I thought that Houston, with Wade Phillips as the coach, right now they're the third choice, about 8-1 to win the league. I thought they looked like maybe the most impressive team to me. Arlington's still the favorite, but still a little early. We'll have all these picks posted on our Instagram and our Twitter page. Chris gives me picks. I'll post coaches' golf picks and so forth. Anything else from the Pine Room guys. So check us out on Twitter at the Pine Room Podcast, and then our PRPBLS Twitter account, which you can find on there as well. The Instagram page as well at the Pine Room Podcast. Be sure to check all that stuff out. I've been putting them up daily. I'll put the golf picks up going in for tomorrow morning, and then we'll have the picks for the weekend in the other sports each day. So keep an eye out on that. Email the show, contact at the Pine Room Podcast, or message us on Twitter or Instagram if you have any thoughts, observations, anything you see out of the XFL or any of these other things. Guys, let's shift over quickly to WBC. We'll probably get into this more, but since it is starting, and I don't know if you guys will be available next week for the show, I wanted to get your thoughts. We talked about this, a pretty nice segment on it yesterday or Monday on the WKKX Watchdog show, which I enjoyed, and we got a lot of feedback on it that kind of got people excited. I heard a lot of people talking about it. Chris, I want to start it off with you. Do you think the USA is going to roll here in the WBC World Baseball Classic?
They are the favorites to win, correct?
Yes, they are.
Well, yes.
Actually, no, the Dominican Republic is the favorite. Sorry. Yeah, no. They're the favorite to win their group. Dominican Republic, 2-1 is the betting favorite to win the tournament overall. And for those of you not aware, pool play, there's 4 pools. Pool A, B, C, and D, and then the winners of the pools advance out, and then the second place teams, and they play quarterfinal matchups. This begins next is March 7th. So what day of the week is that? The next
March 1's on a Wednesday.
So next Wednesday or next Tuesday.
The following Tuesday.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm interested to see this. As far as the pools go, Chinese Taipei, Netherlands, Cuba, Italy, and Panama in Pool A. Do you guys have any thoughts on these pools? I mean, Cuba probably rolls in that one, right? Or does the Netherlands have anything for them?
Well, we were talking on the radio the other day. I wish Jarrett was here with us to give his insight because he absolutely loves this this World Baseball Classic. And as he mentioned, these aren't little all-star games, man. These guys play for their country, and there's I think more pride in these than when they're playing for their city team.
No question.
I think they really
it's kind of like in the World Cup or the Olympics. To see the difference.
But does that hold true for the USA too, though?
That I can't answer. These other teams, yes, I don't know about the USA.
Right.
I would like to think so.
With these guys making $50, $60 million a year, not every guy, but
I think still there's some pride. Some pride.
There should be.
Yeah, wearing that red, white, and blue uniform with the stars and stripes. I think there is.
Well, I hope so.
But you look at some of these lineups. We were talking on the show. I would not want to be a pitcher thrown against that. We were talking about the United States lineup, how they're going to bat them.
How you decide between Trey Turner, Mookie Betts, Mike Trout. Who else? Schwarber, Harper, Goldschmidt.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, the lineup. And then the Dominican is just they are just loaded. So it's going to be fun. You had a couple of dark horses you like.
I like Japan.
Yep.
I think, and they're the second choice, really. They're about even with the USA, around 3-1, 250, 270, wherever you can get them. I just think Japan out of Pool B coming through a side that's just a lot weaker than the other one. Cuba, Netherlands in the Pool A, but man, Pool B with Japan, Korea, Australia, China, and Czech Republic. Czech Republic, I'm surprised they even have baseball. Japan, just to me, just mows through that Pool B and has it very easy. I think they'll be able to set their pitching up easily. To me, that's a huge thing. Baseball in Japan is the biggest sport. I think they'll come ready. I expect them to make the finals in this for sure.
I agree with that. I do like Japan. Obviously, the Dominican is going to be
I think Pool D. What do you guys think? Pool D to me seems the hardest pool. Dominican, Venezuela, Puerto Rico.
That's
a hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's tough. So only 2 of those teams are coming out of there. Israel and Nicaragua. Look out. Hide the women, children, and Ewoks for that one. That's going to be a.
Yeah.
And USA, I believe, starts off with Great Britain, which that'll be a pummeling. Do you think? How will Canada be? I thought maybe Canada. Maybe to get out of that group behind the USA. I don't know. I'm not sure. I haven't looked at their roster enough, but there's a decent amount of Canadian guys playing in the big leagues. So I thought maybe, but Mexico will be a pretty proud nation too. So
that Pool C looks the easiest one. I mean,
I would say USA that in Japan's, but then Korea is formidable. They will at least be respectable. I don't know about Austin. I think China and Czech Republic. I mean, that's going to be just a bloodbath when they play Japan and Korea.
Yes.
So we'll talk more about these when we get through the tournament. We start seeing who's matching up with who. But I wanted to at least bring it up to people's attention. I think there's some value to be had out there. I thought Cuba at 40-1 was interesting to maybe win it. You never know about them. You just don't know. There's not a lot of information about the Cuban guys. So keep an eye on that. But my picks: Japan, Dominican, and USA will obviously be really good, and Venezuela and Puerto Rico. So those are kind of the big dogs, and we're going to talk more about that as we get closer. Actually, when the game starts. So next time you hear our show, we'll probably be talking about some actual matchups. We might know who's pitching.
Yes.
So keep an eye out on that. I think it should be good baseball. I would tend to lean in these elimination games as we get further down. It may completely change. I like to lean unders in those right out of the chute, but the games early on when you got USA playing against Great Britain, so on and so forth, maybe some in-play opportunities there. Starts out a little slow, but once these guys start to find their stroke a little bit, the runs could add up in a hurry when you have these lopsided matchups. Japan against Czech Republic and things of that nature. So, all right, well, we're going to finish up on Bettor's Last Stand with NASCAR. We got NASCAR kicked off with Daytona 500 last week. Had a couple heartbreaking losses there, in the mix late with some guys that make some big money, but didn't work out. But that's all right. We're going to Chris's favorite speedway, Auto Club Speedway out in Fontana. But Chris, I got good news for you. If you listened to the NASCAR preview show, you heard us talk about this. They're reconfiguring Fontana. This is the last race there before they make it a short track.
Right, and it's going to be 2024 when they'll be back there.
So this is the last boring race in Fontana.
Right.
Now you had you talked briefly about Alex Bowman at the beginning of the show.
Yeah, you guys were,
and Bowman won here 2 years ago. So this is a cool stat you got. So what is it?
And because you were talking, and it made me think of this on Monday when you had Travis on. In an article I read that it's been 22 years since a guy on the pole finished in the top 5 at the Daytona.
And he was
500.
the last one.
That was incredible.
Wow. Who was the last guy that did it?
Bill Elliott, 2001.
Okay. It's an incredible stat.
And really most of these, like I was going through all the guys that were on the pole, and most of them are all the names we know. I mean, there was like Greg Biffle, David Gilliland was on the pole one year, and Danica Patrick, and Jeff Green one time. But everybody else is the big names,
one of the top guys.
Yeah, and that really stood out. I was really cool. Surprised to read that.
And Alex Bowman didn't have a great year last year, so he's a guy that I would definitely keep an eye on, and not just because of our connection now with Travis being a wheeling guy and us pulling for him. The Ally 48, I think he's going to have a bounce-back season because this, they extended him in the offseason when they didn't have to. He had a really poor year last year for his caliber of car that he drives and how good of a driver he is. So I'll be looking at Alex Bowman. He's 20-1 this week heading into the Pala Casino 400 at California. As we mentioned, Bowman 20-1. He won this in 2020. Definite contender here. Two guys that I like. This is a big, long low banking speedway. Cars tend to get spread out on this track.
It's not going to be like Daytona.
No, it's not. They have the new generation cars made it a little bit more exciting and kept it a little closer, but it's not the most fun track, but it can still present good wagering opportunities. As I said, it was Bowman 2 years ago, Kyle Larson, so you have Hendrick cars winning the last 2 years. Coach, any guys you like off the bat? Anybody you're
Ross
backing?
Chastain, I liked him last week too. He won the second stage of Daytona. I thought he had a really strong car. Again, caught up in a mess. Towards the end of the race, I really like him. I like Ross Chastain all year. Actually,
he's good.
I think
that team is good. Him and Daniel Suarez. Daniel Suarez ran up his teammate ran up. Champ called him the Mexican guy in the purple car. So
he actually got up to third.
He was right up in that last wave after the second to last caution. He was right there.
Yeah,
so that Trackhouse team is a good team.
Yeah, so I like Ross Chastain is my pick this week. To at least finish in the top 5.
I like it. Chris?
Yeah,
thoughts?
I'm going to I like Chase Elliott to do well this week.
Yeah, those Hendrick cars, like I said, have been great there.
And he seems like he does well on tracks. Now, how far is this track, or what's it?
2 miles?
Is it okay?
It's it's close to 2. It's either 2 or it's close to 2. Right. But it's very similar to Michigan. It's a flat, no banking. Flat, I mean, they go pretty fast, but the passing is not a thing that happens very often.
Right.
And I also like Kevin Harvick.
Okay, well, you can't go wrong with Kevin Harvick. The two favorites, Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson, who's the defending champ, wouldn't recommend betting either one of those guys. I think their odds are a little bit too low. Kyle Busch, I think, is going to have a strong year, and I could see him winning this race. As we mentioned, Alex Bowman, 20-1. Two guys that I thought to keep an eye on that were very good at this track the last couple of years, and they ran. It was interesting to me when they changed cars last year. These guys had been good prior, and they were good in these cars at this track, and it's the last time we'll get this track ever. So cashing now. Austin Dillon, 40-1. He's to be in the top 10. He's about $2. Thought he didn't have a great car setup last week, which is weird to me because Kyle Busch did. I think he'll be pushed to really bounce back hard this week. Sharing information with Kyle Busch is going to be really important with him being his teammate. Like him a lot. I think 5-1 on a top 5 with him is a good bet. And then Eric Jones, who's ran really well here. A couple of top 5s for him the last 3 years at Fontana. He's 30-1 to win it. Top 10 about plus $1.50. Top 5 about plus $4. He's a guy we'll keep an eye on. And then Daniel Suarez, coach mentioned his teammate Ross Chastain. I think Suarez very solid for a top 10 here. You can get him at almost plus $2 to be a top 10 finish. So, again, I'll post all these on Twitter and Instagram so you can check them out for Sunday. I'll also have picks from Sam for the weekend and our picks for the Xfinity race, which will be on Saturday. There's no trucks here at California, so we'll have those picks. And in matchups, I would say, Coach, I want to see if you agree with this. Do you think that you would tend to play against a guy like Ricky Stenhouse this week in matchups, seeing he won?
Yes.
And he seems like a party type guy.
Yeah.
I can see him not sleeping for like 5 days, drinking and celebrating. And I'm glad for him. He's a nice guy. But, I would fade him. I think he
100%.
blows up early here. He would go in my, like you last year, fading Kurt Busch every race. I'll fade Stenhouse in every matchup I can find him in. And then two matchups that I liked this week, Alex Bowman over Tyler Reddick. Alex Bowman plus 115 in this matchup. That's mispriced. He's a much better racer at this track, on a better team right now as far as the car setup for this track than Reddick. I don't like the 23-11 guys at this track, so I'll be fading Reddick and Bubba. I think Daniel Suarez at plus 105 against Bubba is a great matchup. So if you can find those at your books, they're not always going to be matched with the same guys, but look for them at your places wherever you're going to shop around for lines. Alex Bowman over Reddick and Suarez over Bubba if you can get them. I think those are two, to me, those are not priced correctly. Bubba and Reddick should not be favored in those matchups at Fontana. Guys, any closing thoughts before we wrap up for the weekend?
I'm just glad to see NASCAR making its way back in popularity. Yes. I think it's coming back. You're seeing the crowds start to get better. I think they're trying to improve these tracks to make them exciting. The great news of North Wilkesboro and Rockingham, coming back on the circuit. I think that's really exciting. They need to keep these names like Denny Hamlin and Elliott and those guys need to stay around racing now for a while. They need to stay, and these younger guys need to stay. They need to get a solid because back in the day there was always a solid 30. 35 guys that you knew were going to run
same guys everywhere.
Yeah, and you knew the cars, you knew the owners, you knew
they're starting to trend back.
Yeah, and I agree.
Bit.
I agree with that, and I like it. And I'm personally myself, I'm finding myself a lot more interested.
Yeah,
it's nice to be around guys now that are into it. Like we had 20 guys watching it.
Yeah, it was great. We even had guys I didn't even know. Pat McCormick sat there. He's becoming a race fan. He liked it a little last year.
Now he probably would have stayed for that entire race, but he had that bowling tournament. He started drinking at like 10 a.m. So
for breakfast,
So by the time that whatever the second stage was over, that's when he left. But he sat there the whole time, and you get guys like him.
Champ,
they're starting to watch it.
Champ dozed off a couple times,
right? But he sat there and watched it when he wasn't napping. But I echo your sentiments, Mark. It's just fun. I think they've done a lot to bring this sport back.
But the thing we have to do, we have to get the race. We got to get guys that haven't been there.
Yeah, that's
to the race. Like my sons, for instance.
Yeah,
Sam, get guys and get me. I haven't seen a race forever.
It's been a long time.
I'd love to get back to Dover.
Almost since Jared and Judd were born.
Yeah, I'd love to get back to Dover and get that smell and the noise and the excitement and the partying before. Get out a couple of days. Get down in the parking lot with all the partiers. I think that would
just have the kids to go to all the different trailers.
It's something we definitely need to do.
I got a lot of special memories from NASCAR.
Some of the best sporting memories
with your
ever.
Dad
right?
and the guys that we went with, all you guys. Hell, you guys were. Geez, you guys were 12, 13 years old when we were going to all those tracks and the fun and how we'd gamble
and the people you'd meet.
Oh, and everybody was there.
Friends for your rest of your life. You never knew.
I remember being able to take beer in the race. I remember taking in Bristol, and I could already get my feet under because your dad always had that red cooler and would take beer in, and if you could just find a way to piss. Not have to get up to piss.
But
the first time I learned of that you could take your own beer, I forget who I was with. I wasn't with you, Mark. I don't think I was. But anyway, I thought they were just jacking me. I thought that was. I'm like, wait a minute, it's a professional sporting event, and you take your own beer. And then,
how much money we saved on that?
Oh my Lord!
But
it's a lot of fun. I'm glad it's coming back.
It really is.
People, if you haven't watched it, start getting involved.
Give it a try. Make a couple wagers on it. See if you like it. And and then by week 4 or 5, maybe you start learning it if you like a driver
or you like a color scheme.
Yeah.
I thought that was, and when you mentioned Eric Jones last week, he had the Guns N' Roses.
Yeah.
That was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you see some good stuff. NASCAR's trying to do it right. They're getting Michael Jordan's involved with the team. It's good. They're hitting L.A. and Chicago this year, big city. So they are trying to really revive the sport, and I'm happy.
I don't mind them when they branch out. That's fine. We complained about that, but you got to have the tracks that make
the heritage they got to, and they're going with Wilkesboro getting the All-Star race and Rockingham supposedly
awesome.
in the mix. That's good stuff. So we'll continue to monitor NASCAR. Guys, thanks for joining us.
It was great.
Joining me today. We'll be. I don't know what our schedule will be like next week. We have Mountain East tournament. We're not sure who will be on here. I'll probably be doing the show Wednesday. I don't know if Chris is available, what his situation will be. Coach will be over at Mountain East. So again, reminder, Mountain East tournament starts next Wednesday. We'll have women's and men's games, all the totals. We'll have outright bets to win the tournaments. All that will be available on Monday of next week. You can make wagers on all that stuff. We have in-play wagering on the app and at the casino itself. So come on over, check it out, make a bet, go to a game. I think that's a cool thing that you really won't experience at a lot of small college towns is being able to bet on the game you're going to. So Coach will be over there doing the shot clock. Chris, I think you're off this year, right?
my heart hopes so.
Yeah,
Jeez.
Good, okay. Yeah, but thanks for joining us on Bettor's Last Stand. Be sure and check out all the Pine Room stuff from the Pine Room Studios. Job hard at work as always with all of our stuff. We have our weekly radio shows, as I mentioned, now going to be 7 hours a week here in a couple of weeks in early March. Look for more on that at the Pine Room Podcast. On our social media, you can find out all the details of that. We'll be on Tuesday and Thursday from noon to 3 and our regular spot on Monday from 2 to 3 p.m. So check us out. You can stream that if you have friends around that are out of the area, that are in another state, down in Carolinas or Florida or wherever you're have somebody that may want to listen to our podcast or knows us or is aware of us, give them that Watchdog site. They can stream the show. They can watch all of our podcasts on YouTube. We got tons of things happening. Soup did a great Soup and Stuff with Gab Gowdy. He and Jarrett interviewed her. She was a girl who works at FanDuel, a social media influencer, has got a really cool opportunity. She's doing really cool stuff. Big Cleveland fan, so check that out. Lots of great things going on. So between the Pioneer Podcast, Bettor's Last Stand, Soup and Stuff, and all the other things going on, we say farewell. We will see you all next week, and thanks for joining us here on Bettor's Last Stand.